Welcome to Break the Rules with Dr. Lauren Lax, a podcast dedicated to quieting the noise in the health, food, and fitness world. Dr. Lauren is a leading nutritionist, therapist, and functional medicine practitioner on a mission to help others thrive in their own lives, mind, body, and soul. And now, your host, Dr. Lauren Lax.
Well, hello. So excited to be talking about skin and inside out beauty this week, and really just blessed to have a beaming light amongst us. And her name is Rachel Varga, who is a board certified aesthetic nurse specialist, specializing in beautiful skin, again, from the inside out and the outside in. What we put on our skin affects our gut health, just like what we feed our gut also affects our skin health. And today we're going to be talking all about just the skin and gut connection, as well as just how to optimize your skin health. That's a question I get asked a ton in my practice and see a lot. Rachel can tell us what maybe statistics are, but I think a lot of women do struggle with like acne and breakouts, even in the post-teen years. And so, Rachel, just so thankful to have you on the show, and just you again are a beaming shining light to so many, and just the work that you're doing in the world. And would love if you could give us some background around what got you in to really specializing in skincare, and kind of what the breadth and the scope of your practice looks like.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Lauren Lax. It's always a pleasure to contribute. I love sharing your message with my audience as well. Obviously, all of this really goes hand in hand, what we do on the inside impacting the outside, and then beyond that, how we interact with people, places, and things. When we feel good, we're going to look good, and we're going to interact better as well. And what got me into the industry was I finished my Bachelor's of Science in Nursing, and I thought for sure I was going to go on and become a medical doctor myself. So while I was taking my med school prereqs, the sciences, Gen Chem, Organic Chem, Biochem, I had a couple of rejuvenation treatments myself because I was starting to notice some fine lines and wrinkles in my mid-20s and, some acne, and just kind of wanted to make sure I was looking after my skin. I'd already had a typical skin lesion removed off my back because I was one of those young ladies who did the tanning beds from age 18 to 19, not great for my skin type, super prone to skin cancers. So from my mid-20s onwards, I really knew I needed to look after myself and prevent things like skin cancers. And when I had my first rejuvenation treatment, I was not impressed with the level of education, the assessment, what do I do before and after to prepare for this, to reduce things like downtime and bruising and all of that. So I really wanted to find ways that I could be helpful in the world of aesthetics and aesthetic nursing, aesthetic medicine. So I kind of ended up switching gears a little bit. I realized that aesthetic nursing is my passion, and I can help people in wonderful ways. I didn't have to go to med school, which is fantastic. So I've been doing this now for about 10 years, 19,000 procedures later, write academic articles. I'm actually an executive board member for the Plastic Surgical Nursing Journal. So I peer review different articles that come down the pipeline. So I'm in the know of the latest and greatest when it comes to promoting collagen, rejuvenation procedures, what works, what doesn't work. And then it's one of my professional responsibilities to put my, wise discernment and discrimination on different topics and technologies that come out. So I love sharing with you guys what works, what doesn't work, how to mitigate adult acne, prevent skin cancers is really good, sunscreen use, fine lines, wrinkles, and, how to address that descending of the face that happens as we age and, ascend our facial features, if you will.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's such a wild west, skin, the topic of skin. I wonder too, if like the wrinkles that you've at age 20, like, was it stress related, do you think? Or like looking back, what do you feel like was kind of like some contributing factors to skin breakdown, or just lack of maybe some of the awareness you have now around skin health?
Yeah, I would say it's primarily related to my skin type. So I don't have a lot of melanin in my skin. My background's, Dutch, English, Irish, Welsh, all that stuff. So if I go in the sun, I tend to burn quickly and not tan. And so because of that, my skin type and those with similar skin types to myself, we will notice a little bit of that loss of collagen, brown spots, red acne scarring that stick around after a breakout a little bit sooner than some people will that may have a different skin type that, say, go outside and they tan easily, or they have sort of like a Mediterranean type background or a darker skin type. So
right. So we can
look out for everyone.
Right. All prone to certain skin types, just like in this course, we're talking about different gut types as well. We're all prone to different gut types and ways that we may present gut related symptoms. Talk to us just a little bit about the wild, wild west of skin health. Like, what are some of the more common things that people do wrestle with, and kind of like what would be some of the roots of that, or is it all genetically based, et cetera?
Absolutely. So what I've been learning about genetics, and this is coming from a lot of the front runners in the industry, our genes are our blueprint, and we now know that we can modify the expression of our gene expression. This is the whole concept of epigenetics. So if you have, your genes, it's not like you have a death sentence to have cardiovascular disease or this type of, condition. We really have the ability to modify our gene expression through lifestyle, whether that's working with you and, optimizing nutrition or gut health, with myself, optimizing what we do on the skin and rejuvenation. It's pretty cool how we can even undo some of the photo damage, which is really great to do during certain seasons. So there's certain things to focus on in the spring, summer, and then there's certain things to focus on in the fall, winter. So I break that down, and it is a wild west. When I started working with clients in the clinic now about 10 years ago, I just, my heart went out to people because they had just dropped thousands on skin lasers or skin tightening treatments that they really felt like didn't give them the value and the impact that they were hoping for. And then what I did, I started to get my hands on some of the top lasers out there over a 2-year period. And I was really disappointed with a lot of the tech out there that, good marketing behind, lots of celebrity branding and all of this stuff. There's definitely an algorithm I recommend to take care of things like redness, broken capillaries, diffuse redness, rosacea, brown spots, melasma, promote collagen, and ways to lift and tighten the skin. And it's never just one thing. So if you're looking at an ad and it's saying, oh, this beauty cream is going to get rid of puffy eye bags, there ain't no product out there that you can apply topically that will change the structures of your skin or underlying fat compartments around your eyes. It doesn't exist. There is no depuffing magical eye cream or lifting magical skin product.
Or anti-aging, reversing, etc. Talk to us a little bit about that health is an inside job. So how is skin health sometimes a reflection, or oftentimes a reflection, of what's going on the inside?
I love that inside job reference. I think that is adorable. All right. So when I work with clients and, they sit down in the chair in the clinic with me, or I work with a lot of clients online virtually. I've been doing virtual consults for years now. I'm actually one of the first in the industry. And a lot of times I'll actually be able to kind of look at an individual and just kind of get a glance as to what some of their lifestyle habits might be. Do they drink a lot? Are they eating a lot of junk food? What's their past sun exposure been like? What's their BMI? What's the quality and the luster or lack thereof of their skin, hair, and nails? And it's really interesting because a lot of times when I see diffuse redness or skin sensitivities, there could for sure be a tie with leaky gut. Because what happens when our gut lining is permeable and there's inflammation in the gut, it can leak to the other parts of the body and create inflammation on the skin. So the skin can absolutely be a reflection, but sometimes that, topical inflammation that we see can sometimes just be related to just straight up not using the right products and not following the right routine.
Mm-hmm. And also, how about even hormonally as well? Like some people will get breakouts more so when they're on their period or related to their cycle, et cetera. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So there's 2 things that I've identified in my client work as hormones massively impacting. So the first one, we're going to talk to women in their 40s, 50s. So what happens in our 40s and 50s is, we're starting to go through menopause. And if you feel like your face has changed shape overnight, or all of a sudden your face has just changed, you've lost collagen, you're noticing just like a flattening, it's not in your head. There's actually an academic article that looked at facial aging between men and women between the ages of 50 to 60. And this is really crazy. What was identified in this study is that women's faces change shape 3 times faster than their male counterparts. And that is simply related to the changes in hormones. When we lose estrogen, we lose our collagen and elastin. And so if you can kind of do a little bit of that prep work leading into your 40s and 50s, that's great. So when you're typically before menopause, you might experience things like acne, myself included. From actually someone I interviewed recently, he is absolutely on the cutting edge with gut health, gut microbiome testing, precision supplements. Like, this is what the astronauts are doing. I kid you not. And he said something funny, is that acne can be a sign of youth, believe it or not. So myself, I'm mid-30s. Yesterday, yes, after my clinical day of wearing a mask, I had a monster zit on my chin. I was like, that was not there this morning. So what I did, I washed my face, I did my exfoliation, I really scrubbed at that little zit. And then I put on my actives to make my breakout go away quickly. And it is no more. Actually, it went away very quickly. And there's things that we can do to make breakouts go away.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think a lot of us want to know what the strategies are. So kind of like diving into maybe starting when you're starting with a client and walking them through just a reset for their skin. Where do you start?
Oh, that's great. I love actually using that word reset, or let's first work to kind of stabilize the skin. So this comes down to following a couple of 4 basics that I've observed in my clinical practice. That is like clockwork. Cleansing morning and night, moisturizing morning and night, sunscreen, mineral-based sunscreen, not chemical-based sunscreen, every single day, all the way to your lash line, and exfoliating a couple of times a week. When I meet with clients and they have red, irritated, sensitive, or they've told they have rosacea, which a lot of times they might not, it's just they're not hitting those 4 points. As soon as they start to hit those 4 points, it's like clockwork. Within about 2 weeks, they'll start to, sometimes even less, I'll get emails, after just even once or twice of using the routine I laid out for people, that they'll say, oh, my skin already feels smoother. It looks a little bit glassier. You'd be surprised what happens when you just look after your skin in the way that it wants. And I have a little bit more of an outline on that. I actually have a free resource that I'm happy to share with your audience with that.
That would be super helpful, and definitely can upload that with show notes. Interested to know too, just like talking about what we're using on our face. Like, I'm sure you see such a Wild West there of people that come in with so many different things, or even things that are labeled natural, got it at Whole Foods. See that a lot in the diet world as well. Like, it's from Whole Foods, so it must be healthy pizza and mac and cheese, right? So talk to us a little bit about like what we're using on our skin, even makeup as well, and kind of how that can influence both positively and or negatively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been really blessed to have that background, like I said, in Gen Chem, Organic Chem, and Biochem. So when I look at a product, whether it's a household cleaning product or a cosmetic product, first of all, you don't want to be buying this stuff off these third-party auction websites. We're talking Amazon, we're talking eBay, because the issue with counterfeit products is like honestly bigger than the drug trafficking trade right now. Mm-hmm. And so it's really buyer beware. So first of all, you want to make sure you're getting it from a reputable source. So getting your supplements and vitamins from Dr. Lauren Lax, getting your skincare from someone like myself, who's an approved distributor for medical grade skincare lines. So that's going to be aesthetic physicians, aesthetic nurses. It's kind of like getting prescription strength supplements through someone like yourself. Mm-hmm. So if you can kind of compare medical grade really great skincare clinical results, lots of emphasis in the formulation. And also the same goes for wonderful supplements through nutritionists like yourself. So when we're looking at marketing labeling and you're seeing a couple things, lots of green on it, lots of green leaves or, green or the word natural, all natural, dermatologist tested, dermatologist recommended, those actually don't mean anything. It's really misleading how that dermatology recommended label gets put on there, as well as the word natural basically means anything that comes from planet Earth. So there's a lot of things that are on this planet that are not good for us. Those are going to be things like petroleum-based products, plutonium, lots of radioactive stuff out there that is natural. So not necessarily great for us. I'm kind of having a little bit of fun with this. Oh, the other one is chemical free. So if you see something that says chemical free, well, that's actually impossible because you spin that product back around, you look at the ingredient list, chances are it's going to be water. Some chemicals are really good for us and are actually critical to our survival, like air and water, right?
Right.
Air's got a bunch of different elements in it. Water's got oxygen and hydrogen coming together to create this wonderful molecule called water, which is why we're able to survive here today.
That's a really good point. So just like being aware of marketing messaging. Also like apps like Think Dirty, EWG.org, they rate like products. Is there legitimacy to some of those, or is it kind of just doesn't matter so much? They're just looking at terms like that.
Yeah. One of the things that they'll put really bad ratings on for products is if they contain ingredients like parabens, phthalates, sulfates, artificial dyes, fragrances, and testing on animals. These are definitely ingredients that are a no-go, including chemical sunscreen filters. You really only want to use sunscreens that are zinc and titanium dioxide based. That being said, a product could have a really good, clean rating on the EWG resource, which I think is great. Do I use that? I don't actually. I like to actually look at the research, the clinical studies that different companies are actually doing on their products, and also the results my clients are getting. So just because a product has a really good rating doesn't actually mean that it was formulated in a way that's going to be clinically effective. Or there could be vitamins and antioxidants like vitamin C or retinol, which is vitamin A. If those antioxidants aren't formulated in a way that's going to make that molecule stable, it can actually become an oxidant and become a free radical. There's a lot of science that goes into this. So looking at, locally made vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, retinol products, I would recommend sticking with the more medical grade, clinical based products. Use that wonderful locally made stuff or even make it yourself for your body, for washing, for moisturizing.
Mm-hmm. That's really great points. Also interested to know if there's thematically anything you see from people's diets, both positively or negatively. For example, like dairy, I know can make people break out. Some people break out, or just what do you see also in your practice?
Yeah, I see a number of common threads. So when people do tend to have a lower BMI, they're typically being a little bit more cognizant of what they're eating. That being said, people could be hanging out at a higher BMI, eating all the right things, but their gut, I did air quotes there, but their gut might not be actually happy with the foods they're eating because those foods could be deemed healthy, but might not be right for their constitution. For example, I do not do well with things like peppers or kale, which are nightshades. Actually, a lot of people don't. Newsflash. So what I do, I recommend doing some pretty sophisticated gut microbiome testing to actually give you a picture of which foods and supplements are going to be right for you, as opposed to trying to guess it. Test it instead of guessing it.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And also just thinking too, toxicants. For example, one patient comes to mind I had worked with for a while, and she just kept having skin breakouts and was doing all the things like topically for the skin and even from a diet perspective. And lo and behold, she was actually living in a mold infused environment. And so it wasn't so much like that what she was doing, it's what she was living in and just environmental factors. And do you ever find that your clients hitting roadblocks and then you're looking like for some of those, or take that into context in general environment and air?
Definitely. So actually one of the first things I ask a potential client, both in person and online, is, do you have any underlying autoimmune conditions or allergies? That will actually tell me a lot, because when there's an underlying condition, there's definitely going to be oftentimes hypersensitivities to treatments or potential for higher rates of side effects, especially with injectables. And I'm actually writing a paper on this to provide a little bit more guidance within the industry to always put health and safety first, as opposed to, just pumping people up to give them what they want and make some money. We always have to look at the health first. So that's definitely one thing I always ask my clients. And oftentimes when I meet with someone and they are displaying a lot of reactivity, a lot of lackluster to their skin, they just don't generally look healthy and vibrant, I will actually ask them about their house. And because I've seen some ties between mold and, how our skin displays, which is also, there's going to be some other typically underlying health issues like autoimmune conditions that arise from that.
Yeah. And that may also go back to like then our skin type or genetic type. Maybe some people are more predisposed to expose show that in their skin, whereas another person's having like respiratory issues and mold, or another person's having brain fog, etc. So quite the Wild West there too. Well, kind of once the reset is done with your 4 pillars, what's the next step and kind of like up-leveling skin health and vibrancy and getting skin that looks like yours?
Oh, thank you. This doesn't happen by accident. I'm consistent, right?
Yeah.
It's like living a healthy lifestyle. You can't just eat well and live well like once a week. It doesn't work that way. It's the same thing goes with your skincare. All jokes aside, that's really key to be really diligent with what you're doing to your skin, but also not to confuse it. So what I recommend, again, cleanse, moisturize, sun protect, exfoliation with the right products, using different methods with each of those. It's not that complicated. It just takes sometimes a little bit of rewiring. But I love to recommend stabilizing the skin for 2 weeks, then incorporating different actives like copper peptide, lactic acid, vitamin A and retinol, glutathione, vitamin B complex. And then after that, integrating things like at-home dermal rolling. And then after that, possibly things like chemical peels or laser rejuvenation. I will never treat a client unless they've prepped their skin first with a basic skincare routine, because it proves to me that they're going to follow that routine afterwards. And I don't have time for non-compliant clients. I want to give my all to clients that are, on this journey with me. They're taking it seriously. They're doing all the things. And if you've had a previous, not great experience with a chemical peel or laser treatment, think about that for a second. Did your clinician get you to stabilize your skin first and was really diligent about ensuring you were using the right products afterwards too?
It's kind of like jumping into step 3 versus like the foundations being laid for skin.
A great analogy is actually, let's start to just stabilize your skin, and then we're going to start to whisper to it.
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk to it. Then we're going to have full-on conversations with it.
So with like the nitty-gritty of like cleansing and moisturizing, is that like once a day, twice a day? And like, what does that actually look like? Just 5 minutes worth of my day, or like something? What would be consistencies within that kind of routine foundationally?
Yeah. So I'll share actually how I do it if you want.
That'd be great.
So I prefer to take my bath actually in the evening before bed. I'll even throw on my red light therapy in the room so you get that glow. It kind of signals my body, okay, it's time to wind down a little bit. And then I'll wash my face with always running water from the faucet, not like stagnant bath water where your feet are also, you don't want to put like your feet water on your face. So if you have sensitive skin or acne, this is definitely something to be aware of. So I'll do a double cleanse in the evening. So my first cleanse is taking off dirt, oil, debris, dead skin, pollution, beauty products, makeup, Then your second cleanse is actually washing your face. And sometimes I'll do some, acid exfoliation, or I'll do a mechanical exfoliation while I'm there. And then I'll get out of the tub, and before touching every single thing in my bathroom, which has germs on it, which I don't want to integrate on my face, then I'll put my eye cream on. If I have a little breakout, I'll put some, acne focused products on, and then my moisturizer, and go to bed. Or I'll do my dermal rolling. And then in the morning, I'll do a single cleanse. I'll put on my eye cream, moisturizer, and then my mineral-based sunscreen. So it doesn't have to take a long time. I can literally get myself ready like this in about 15 to 20 minutes each day. Skincare routine, probably going to take you about 2-3 minutes. Trust me, you got time for it.
Yeah, that's such, a staple, it sounds like, that we can definitely, like brushing our teeth, become routine.
Yeah. Another thing I want to add there is, if that triggered you, because I see this a lot, women kind of, or like the wounded healer, or whatever you want to talk about it, however you want to mention it, wearing that badge of busyness.
Yeah.
I'm too busy. I got kids. I'm looking after this, that person, doing this. I don't have time to do this. Yes, you do. Think about how much more time it's going to take when you're in your 50s, 60s plus, and you have to go see your dermatologist or a GP to get those precancerous lesions burned off your face every month or two.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You got to do the legwork, and there's no excuses.
The investment into the savings account of your face and your skin. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about just like sweat too. So if we're sweating during the day, is there anything in particular? Like, I'm one to go to yoga class and like run in and run out, or just like get back to life. If I break a sweat and I'm in my makeup, etc. Talk to us a little bit about anything.
For sure. So it's pretty well known in the aesthetic nursing industry that runners age very quickly. And the reason why is they'll wake up, they'll get their workout done outside, and they're not putting products, their moisturizer or sun protection on their face. So they're getting that daily exposure of about 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes longer if they're driving from their house to that spot and then back, or running some errands while they're at it. We really see accelerated aging in runners. So my advice is, if you're a morning workouter, to make sure that you're still doing your skincare routine. And if you're using the right products, the right sunscreen, it's not going to make your eyes sting when you sweat. If you're doing something like hot yoga, I do recommend doing it on a clean face. And so washing your face, and then, maybe going into the studio with like a little bit of moisturizer on. But for myself, I've been doing this for years. I'll, do my clinical day. I'll go to the gym. I'll sweat in my makeup, and then I'll just wash my face before I go to bed. And it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you have the right products on board and you're using makeup that's non-comedogenic, that's not going to clog your pores, then you should be good to go. And I'm always happy to make specific recommendations.
Yeah. Well, and then around the makeup, Wild West right there too. And then there's a lot of like high-end makeup that's actually not the best for our face as well. And just like, I'll go into any Sephora store and it's just a heyday.
I can't remember the last time I went in a Sephora store.
Yeah. There's one brand there. I like the Josie Maran. I don't know if that is even good. It's argan oil based. But like, talk to us just a little bit about makeup and like where to find it, what to do about it. A lot of times the complaints I hear is just like, well, the natural stuff doesn't stay on at all. Kind of where should people turn for makeup solutions?
Gotcha. So one of the reasons, I don't want to pick on like a store in general. Let's just be clear here. But no, I haven't gone into that type of store in years. I actually won't go into certain stores because of the heavy fragrances that are in there. Because guess what? When you smell something, it's in your brain. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely usually a toxin. Mm-hmm. So a lot of different stores I'll go in and I can smell plastics, I can smell fragrances. I want to get the heck out of there. I don't want to be breathing that in anyways. But when it comes to makeup, I definitely recommend products that are free of coal tar dyes, mineral oils, parabens, phthalates, sulfates, artificial dyes, fragrances, like I mentioned, not tested on animals. And I need my makeup to perform. I'm doing a ton of interviews, video shoots, photo shoots. So I'll use triple milled makeup that is HD ready. That can be a little bit of a buzzword as well, but I'm always happy to make some specific makeup recommendations. If you reach out to me, I won't say in an interview specific brands because my recommendations might change 3 to 6 months down the line.
So smart. I like that. Kind of like, okay, foundations. Then we're talking maybe about some of those next level things, such as red light therapy, as you mentioned, et cetera. Like, what are some of the hacks that you take people down, or the rabbit holes, perhaps, for us on Dr. Google that we may read about, that you help guide for up-leveling the skin?
Yeah, I mean, what I'll do is I'll look at sort of what some of my colleagues are talking about that I really trust. And I've actually gone a step further and then actually interviewed some of the creators of these light devices. And we have to be really careful with what we're buying online. You want to make sure that the company's actually paying attention to third-party lab testing. With red light therapy, it is a little bit of a wild, wild west. So I'll tell you a story. There's a wonderful conference in Las Vegas that I just love to go to. So I was hanging out in the pool the day before the conference started. Get a little bit of me time in. And then this guy started chatting me up, and I think he was one of the vendors at the conference. And he's like, oh yeah, I have this, red light therapy LED mask that gives women facelifts. Wow, that is like the biggest line of garbage I think I've ever heard in my life. So I kind of called him on it, and then he left me alone. Thank goodness. Yes. But yeah, you have to be really careful with these masks that you'll find, because sometimes the bulb can just be like whatever bulb, and then they'll just put like a coating over the bulb. So like a film, like red, purple, green, yellow. And what matters with light is the penetration of the light. So that's the nanometer. So different nanometers will reach different layers of the skin. So I'll tweak nanometer depth when I'm doing things like skin rejuvenation or hair removal or taking care of broken capillaries. So that's adjusted, as well as the energy output. So if I do too much energy on someone's skin, I can burn them. If I don't do enough, they won't get an efficacious treatment. So the same thing goes with the depth, the nanometer of the light that's being used in the red light therapy device, and also the fluence or the energy, the joule output. So I hope that I've made this clear that more energy doesn't necessarily mean better. I actually did a consult with a lovely lady who just bought this, $1,000 panel. She's like, it was so much cheaper than one of the other red light therapy devices you were recommending. And she was complaining of actually getting burns on her skin. Kid you not, this was a device I'd never heard of. I went and looked on their website, and their claims were, yeah, it's got higher energy than the competitors. It's less expensive. So buyer beware.
Yeah. Moral of the story, not all red lights are created equal. How about infrared sauna? Does that also have red light in it that would be effective for face, or is separate?
Yeah. So actually on my podcast, I have interviews with founders of a couple of these different red light companies and also infrared saunas and saunas in general. What I've come to learn about saunas is most of the saunas are made in the Orient. The problem with that is off-gassing. Another problem is the materials used, the glues and adhesive used. So guess what? Sitting in this box, it's getting up to temperature, and you're just getting inundated with toxins. Yeah. So it really matters what the constructed components are made of, right? And working with companies that actually care about that stuff. Again, I'm happy to make specific recommendations. And those panels that are emitting the infrared light, again, they need to be made well. They need to have the right energy output, the right nanometer depth of energy. There's, again, a lot of tech that goes into a really good infrared sauna device.
Is there anything else that you see as being like good in theory, but like can go wayward, such as like that's something I would have never thought about, sitting in an infrared sauna and like the toxins based on how it was constructed? Because we're thinking about the end result, but is there anything that you see otherwise, like for skin? I mean, sunscreens is one thing, but I don't know, anything else I'm missing or that?
Yeah, let's add some body, mind, spirit, energy component to the conversation.
Yeah.
Well-grounded people that get out in nature, that have cultivated spiritual energy balancing practices are hands down my most vibrant clients. So I started to identify a very unique subset of clients that were typically women aged 50 to 60. They've cultivated their self-care practices. I was like, what are you doing? I'm taking notes out of your playbook. They have body, mind, spirit, energy aligning practices. So we cannot downplay the impact, we're talking about environment again, of when we are living in a city or in a condo building or in our own home, and there's constant EMF exposure. We're learning more and more about this, and it's really, really important for you to, if you're using your Aura Ring, I use this to track my sleep and a couple other biometrics. I turn it on airplane mode. I don't want EMFs inundating me all the time. Also, I turn my iPhone on airplane mode when I'm not using it, because that's all also sending EMFs. Turning off your router at nighttime when you can, or asking your electrician to basically organize the electrical circuitry in your home so that it's really easy to turn off non-essential circuits. This is all super important, but we actually, I'm working with a colleague right now who sent me a bunch of literature on the actual physiological changes that grounding provides to our cells. So I can actually bring the picture up right now. But basically, if you were to think about like a red blood cell, you know how it's kind of circular, things like that. You'll look at this in different lab work. So in the individuals that didn't get out in nature or perform grounding, their red blood cells were organized in a very irregular way. They weren't evenly spaced apart. They were kind of on top of one another or jammed in. It didn't look organized. The actual ionic structure of the red blood cells were kind of congealed and non-uniform. Then you looked at a blood sample of individuals that did get a degree of grounding. You'll have to fact check me on how they grounded, whether they used different biomats or getting out in nature. But the red blood cells were more evenly spaced apart. They were looking more uniform. They were looking more organized. So this is actually a paper I'm going to be writing. And somehow looking at how grounding, getting in nature can actually create more organization and structure and uniformity of our cells on an ionic bonding level. Because when the ionic bonds are, everything's not overly charged, negative, positive, you're going to have better bonding interactions. But I wonder if there's a correlation between the organization of our collagen and elastin fibers in our skin when we're also grounded. So I postulate that there is a tie between that. So I love bringing like the full-on nerdy science of beauty together. And I think that's why my most radiant clients that look the way they do, they're getting that nature and grounding time in. I think that's why they're looking better, is their whole energetics are just way better.
Ooh, I cannot wait to read that paper and see that. And that's such a good point. And it makes sense, just humans, like innately, we used to live outside. Like it's just our natural environment. So talk to us a little bit about like Botox and just like skin type of treatments. And is it something that like when we're 50s or 40s or 30s, we need to do, or like is that kind of like with these steps, you're saving us from doing that?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, disclaimer, this isn't medical advice. This is educational info. If you think you have a medical condition, seek the advice of a licensed physician. I won't talk about specific product names. I'll talk about classes. Mm-hmm. So neuromodulators is the type of product of that brand that you referenced. There are a couple of different products on the market, and they have different qualities to them, including one, this is actually, I can talk about this because it's published data. If you Google my name on PubMed, you'll find an academic article I wrote last year providing optimal rejuvenation of the periocular area using advanced injectable techniques. So I work with injectables all of the time, and they definitely do have indications. So there are some products that have extra preservatives, extra complexing proteins that don't seem to serve a function. So why would I want to put that in my clients' faces? Why would I want to put that in my face, right? So I do think about this stuff, but not a lot of clinicians will dive into the nitty-gritty of the science and make that decision for themselves to reduce harm as much as possible. They've been used for decades, a lot of the different brands that are out there. There's always new ones coming out always go by the 7 to 8 year rule. That has been part of my clinical practice. If it's been used on the masses for that time, I'll consider using it, because by that time, different procedures, the way that the procedures are applied has really been dialed in and kind of sussed out. Mm-hmm. That's when I'll consider it. So what I like to do is actually recommend injectables as being the very last thing to do. So do your skincare first, use actives, dermal rolling, clean up your freaking lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. First and foremost, do that before investing a cent in anything. Do things like laser therapies, chemical peels. Chemical peel, not a scary word, right? Mm-hmm. Some chemicals are really good for our skin, like glycolic acid, lactic acid, salicylic acid, all sorts of things. And then really only do injectables when absolutely necessary. If you don't have any underlying autoimmune conditions, your detoxification pathways are, cruising at full steam ahead, no issues there, then maybe consider it. Word to the wise, though, always take a good look at who's potentially doing your treatments, because if they look crazy, it's just a matter of time until you do as well.
Yeah, that's it's like going to a doctor that may be like weight and telling the client mm-hmm. to lose weight, etc. Explain to us, what is dermal rolling?
Dermal rolling is an age-old therapy to promote collagen. Tons of research on this. It's been utilized since the 1990s. I have a dermal roller around here, so there we go. Mm-hmm. So this is my 0.3. Of course, I have like 3 dermal rollers that I use. I kid you not. All at different depths. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. You don't want to be using anything really deeper than that. So when you're on Amazon or eBay and you find that roller for $20 that has scary needles on it, just a note here. Do not ever get your roller from those websites, because the needles, I'm holding the 0.3 up right here, the needles could potentially be blades up close, and the metal that it's composed of could potentially be a heavy metal, like an alloy, if you will. So an alloy means a mix of a bunch of metals together. Surgical steel, that's all you want. You also want to be working with rollers that have been used and manufactured since the 90s. So I work with 2 brands of rollers that have been making rollers for a very long time. And some are going to be better than others. Price point, you're looking at about $120 to $160 for a good roller that's going to last you up to 2 years. But you don't just want to get a roller and hope for the best and use whatever products you have. The reason why is when you are rolling your face, you're creating little micro channels in the skin, much like aerating the lawn. Aerate the lawn, poke the little holes from the little barrel on into the lawn. You're creating a channel, micro channel of injury, which then allows your skin products to sink in transdermally up to 100 to 1,000 times deeper, not just topically. So not a lot of products are designed to be used topically, not transdermally. So when it comes to dermal rolling, you do want to have some specific guidance on that and not just kind of hope for the best, because again, there's some prep work that you want to do. You want to get your skin used to getting whispered to with actives, then start to integrate the rolling. It's really important to have the right products on hand, like a really good moisturizer and exfoliant to mitigate any redness, dryness, flaking that might happen from that increased cellular turnover. So I've really come up with some great protocols for people, but it does need to be customized for each individual, actually.
What would be a good budget for someone to set for their skincare and like their products that they invest in?
Yeah. And a lot of times, actually, I just had a testimonial come through today from another nutritionist. She's been working with me, really happy with the changes in her skin. A prime example of someone who's been doing all the things on the inside, but then just needed some guidance on the outside. And she's saying in her testimonial how she's saved a ton of money. All right. So I'm going to list off some costs here. You could budget anywhere from about $200 to $250 for your cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, scrub. You could budget about $250 for your dermal roller and a couple of serums to go with it that are going to be designed to do that. Some of the extras are going to be like your eye cream, a daytime antioxidant serum, a mask, a hydration spray, some skin brightening supplements, a neck cream. Those would be extras. Those extras could be anywhere from like $300 to $600. So what I recommend, start with the basic, about $200 to $250. Get your basics dialed in. Integrate the rolling for about $250. then consider adding some of those extras into the mix.
That's a good game plan strategy. I like that.
So when you see that one product for about $200 and you haven't yet invested in your basic routine, don't do it. You don't need to spend your whole month's food budget on your skin.
Well, Rachel, where can people find out more about you, your work, your consults? And I know you also have some great products on your site too.
Yeah. So on my website, rachelvarga.ca, I just have a couple of products on the e-store because most of the medical grade brands I work with don't allow products to be sold on e-commerce. So they require consultation with an aesthetic physician or nurse like myself. So those consults are all available at rachelvarga.ca, as well as I have a really great free resource. It's my sophisticated skin cheat sheet that you can get your hands on there also. And yeah, I do a couple of different skin camp programs, which is great just for some continual guidance. But I work with people all over the world, North America, Europe, Australia, Iceland, New Zealand, all over. It's great.
Amazing. I'm thankful for the Zoom life that, well, Rachel, thanks so much for coming on. Excited to get this message out to the world. And thanks for inspiring us for our health that is both an inside job and also how our health on the outside can influence our insides as well. So
yeah, my pleasure to be here. And just some closing notes that just popped into my mind here. Always use your wise discernment and really pay attention to what feels good for you. Okay. So don't listen to what other people are telling you to do about your skin. If, they're not a professional themselves, or if someone said to you, oh, you look really tired, maybe you should get a treatment done. If you're one of those people that take it upon yourself to tell your mother to get something done or your friend to get something done, like, we might not realize that impact that might have on that individual. So maybe just kind of keep your comments to yourself. So if you know someone that could use some guidance, just say, hey, I heard this, Rachel person talk. I think she could be a great resource for you. Do it in like a kind, loving way. Really important. And always do things that are in alignment with your budget and lifestyle.